everybody. My name is Anisha, and I'm currently taking part in JLGB's NCS program. This is a program that's been taking place over the summer where different teams work together to make new friends, build up their confidence, and to learn new skills, ultimately coming up with a social action project for the last week. What makes JLGB's version of NCS even more unique is that the program specializes in helping people of different faith communities to take part in this program and remove more barriers. This is highlighted by representatives of our team today. We are called Venus Plus, and we're a team of all girls made up from Jewish, Muslim, and Hindu faith backgrounds. We've had the last week to come up with a project, and we decided to focus on the issue of period poverty because we believe that no woman or girl deserves to feel embarrassed about something that she cannot control, and that the taboo surrounding this topic is far too prevalent in our society today. Periods are something that should not be frowned upon, but rather celebrated. So far, we have accomplished several achievements. Firstly, we have set up an online petition on the UK Parliament website asking for menstrual products to become free for all women in the UK. Then, on a more local scale, we have partnered with charities to raise money to make care packages for unhoused women in the UK. To raise money, we have been campaigning in central London for the last 2 days. And tomorrow we will be going on a sponsored 20-kilometre walk around London. We are incredibly passionate about this project and appreciate all the support we have received so far and this opportunity to discuss our campaign with you. Therefore, we are delighted to announce that the chair of the Gift Wellness Foundation, Dr. Zareen Ahmed, has agreed to be our special guest today and charity partner, and that JLGB Virtual has agreed to broadcast for us as part of their long-running interview series. Dr. Zareen is a truly inspirational woman who we are so lucky to be able to hear from today. Without giving too much away, she is the founder of numerous different charities, including the Halima Trust and Period Poverty UK, helping women in crisis across the world. Her story and passion is truly incredible, and we hope you will learn something valuable today from hearing her speak. So without further ado, please welcome today's very special guest, Dr. Zareen Ahmed. Hi, Dr. Zareen.
Hi. Oh, thank you for that lovely intro.
Of course. Just to start, do you mind giving us a quick introduction of who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it?
So, as you say, I'm the founder and chair of the Gift Wellness Foundation, and I'm also the founder and CEO of Gift Wellness Limited, which is a social enterprise. It actually started with Gift Wellness, the social enterprise. In fact, it started with the Halima Trust, and so it began after my daughter passed away, and I set up a charity to do the work that she wanted to do, and we built a school for orphaned and needy girls in Pakistan, and that led me to on a journey basically that led to me starting up Gift Wellness, which is a social enterprise where for every pack of menstrual products that we sell, we donate pads to women in crisis and girls who need them. So we've donated over 6.5 million so far. So the social enterprise started first, and then the charity was set up to like 3 years ago, and the demand is growing, and I think especially after the pandemic, the situation is getting worse, not better. So I'm really pleased to see young people like yourselves really harnessing all your energy and focusing on this issue, because you have to, because it's for you and for the next generation that comes after you. And you're absolutely right. Why aren't period products free of charge everywhere? Why aren't they? It's not a luxury. It's not a luxury item. And Scotland has done it. In Scotland, they're free in all public places. So why aren't they here? So I tell you, I'm so pleased that you're doing this, and thank you so much. I feel really privileged that you chose our charity to work with.
The privilege is honestly all ours. It's an incredible story that you have, and we're really, really excited to be able to talk to you today. Do you mind telling us a bit more about Period Poverty UK and what its purpose is in the umbrella of the Gift Wellness Foundation as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very simple. We supply women who can't access or afford period products with products, and like I say, we've donated over 6 million so far, and we're not even scratching the surface because it's such a massive problem. We're not just talking just about the UK. You know, people think there isn't a problem here, but actually there's a massive problem here. And during the pandemic, we were absolutely inundated, and we still are, with requests from all corners of the country, from food banks to women's projects to youth clubs and youth hostels and homeless charities and all kinds of organisations. Asking us, begging us, schools as well, still schools, even though the government have offered products to schools now free of charge. Only 40% of schools are taking the government up on this. So, and even the ones that are, we're getting emails from schools saying, well, yeah, but we've reached the limit of how much they'll give us, our quota, that we've reached it, and we need more, that it wasn't enough. So kind of, you know, if you're going to do it properly, you know. That's what I want to say to the government. Like, it's just like they've just ticked a box and that's it, we've done it now. So, you know, schoolgirls are covered. We don't need to bother anymore.
No, of course.
It's just not true.
Yeah, what you're saying makes complete sense.
Yeah. So you know, our focus is, it's being pulled in different directions. At the start, it was very simply, you know, food banks, homeless charities, and those sorts of projects, and refugee camps, of course. You know, where women are in absolute crisis. But then as we started doing this work and peeling the layers off the whole issue, you uncover the hidden period poverty in the different pockets of society. And a lot of it is down to cultural understandings, and where you know, girls are just not allowed to talk about periods and not allowed to ask for products, you know, because they can't mention it, you know. And it's not just kind of religious communities and, you know, Muslims and, you know, different, you know, I come from a Muslim background. It's not just my community, it's every community, including white, Indigenous, you know, non-faith communities as well. It's still a taboo subject in those communities too. So it's really important that we just, you know, open everyone up now to talking about it, because it's not dirty, and it's not something that is a weakness. It's not a weakness.
Definitely. I think all of us in this room, being girls, we've all had personal experiences of times when we felt too embarrassed or too scared to ask about it, and that should never be a thing. People shouldn't be feeling that worried or have this anxiety when it comes to something that's so natural. I just wanted to ask you, when you started this, did you have any idea of where you'd be today and how far it would go, and what drives your passion to keep going through, like, with all your charities?
I think at the beginning it was a kind of a survival strategy, if I'm honest, you know, because it was, you know, my daughter Halima was passionate about this work, and so, you know, about all kinds of third world development, and so for me it was kind of, I went into survival mode after she passed away, and it was, you know, we had a pact that we would do this work together, right, and from when she was a young age, and but just 6 weeks after she started university to study third world development and international relations in Nottingham, she was abducted and murdered by a mental health patient who was stalking her. And so as soon as it happened, I I just automatically, almost straight away, decided to carry on with this work, because that's what me and her were going to do after she graduated. I was going to give up my career and whatever I was doing, and me and Halima were going to set up our own sort of social enterprise and charities. And you know, the first project that we embarked on was the Halima School of Excellence, and we now have a college there as well. It's a Halima College as well. There are 850 girls there. But it was when I was on my way back from Pakistan, having just inaugurated the Halima School, which was 3 years after she passed away. It took 3 years to build. And I was sitting in the airport lounge in Lahore, having just inaugurated this school and seen all these amazing girls come into the school and get it all started. And I was sitting in the airport lounge thinking, you know, what now? Like, I've reached that milestone. What am I going to do next? And I knew that I'd never work for anyone again, because I'd always had jobs, you know, and I knew that whatever I did, it needed to link with a charity in some way. So I was sitting in the airport lounge and I picked up a magazine, and it opened at this article, which was about women in refugee camps in Syria, in the Zatari camp in Syria, and how they had to, it described how they had to tear strips off their own clothes that they were wearing, the bottom of their abayas, their dresses, to fold up into makeshift sanitary pads and use them as pads, and all the other like horrible, horrific things that they had to suffer while they're in the camps. You know, abuse from soldiers. They were scared to go to the toilet. They were, you know, they had to do all kinds of horrible things in exchange for food to feed their kids and themselves. And on top of that, they're going to get their period every month, you know? And it hit me so hard when I read that, and I knew straight away, like literally I visualized myself at that moment of me giving pads to these women. You know, it was that powerful visualization that kind of was so embedded in me that as far as I was concerned in that moment, I'd started doing it. Like, I'd never done business before, right? I'd never launched a project or launched a product or done anything commercial or anything like that in my life. But I knew that I was going to start a business whereby it would be a social enterprise whereby I get pads and I sell a pad and I give a pad. For every pad I sell, I give a pad to these women. And so it was one of those, it's called a triple bottom line business. It focuses on people, planet, and profit. So they needed to be eco-friendly as well. And you know, I was like on the plane on the way back, I was writing notes and got back, and it took 18 months of research and development, and I launched Gift Wellness. And then, you know, a few years later, because I was doing that buy one, gift one, I was doing that for a few years, and business was growing, product was doing well, you know, added more products, soap bars, shampoo bars, conditioner bar, body wash bar, all bars in paper, no plastic, and really gorgeous products. And again, each product had to have something good attached to it. We had to be helping people through that product. And then at the beginning of, was it in 2018 when there was all that Me Too, #MeToo campaign going on and all those celebrities involved. And there was a big focus on, you know, women's sort of reproductive rights in society and in the workplace and that sort of thing. And I started getting approached by customers and friends and family saying, I want to get involved in this period poverty work you're doing. And they kind of coined the phrase period poverty. Before that, I didn't call it period poverty. I just called it giving pads to women in crisis. I didn't have a name for it, but, they sort of said, we want to help with your period poverty work. And I said, oh, is that what it is? Okay, fine. So we actually set up a little committee and started the charity in its own right. So the separate charity, the Gift Wellness Foundation. So it came from Gift Wellness, but it's now a separate charity. And then, so since 2018, we've been doing this work and really getting members of the community involved. I mean, I've had my whole family, like with uncles with long beards and aunties with headscarves and nieces and nephews in my warehouse packing sanitary pads to go off to charity, right? So you can get over the taboos even in a community like ours. It's not an obstacle that you can't get over. And I've had lots of conversations with charity workers who are from different religious, very patriarchal backgrounds, about trying to talk to them about, why they need to take sanitary products, menstrual products to refugee camps as part of their containers, because they would take food, medicine, clothes. But when I mentioned this at first, it was, well, is it that important? Food is more important, isn't it? Clothes are more important, medicines are more important. And it's not until you actually sit them down and say, look, have you got a wife? Have you got a daughter? Have you got a mother? Everyone's got a mum, right? Can you imagine them being in that situation where they are homeless, they've been driven out of their homes, they've got nothing but the clothes on their backs, they're trying to look after their children, and they're going to get their period. And how are they going to manage that? What about their dignity? Put your mother, put your sister, your daughter in that situation. And then they suddenly kind of wake up to it and they realize. And I had those sorts of conversations at the beginning. And then from then, every container that goes to Syria, or, we just sent 250,000 pads to Yemen a few weeks ago. And we've got to have those, we have to break through those ceilings, those glass ceilings, in order for people to understand. So yeah, and then obviously, so we ran the charity like that, and then the pandemic happened, which again, things have changed again, and the demand like doubled in the first lockdown. But it gave me a good opportunity to kind of take a step back. Everyone was at home, and it gave me a good chance to step back and look at what we're achieving and what we're missing still. And it was in the first lockdown that I came up with the concept of the period gift box, which is a box of lovely, comforting products designed for parents to gift to their daughters. And it's got information for the parents, brothers, sisters, everybody. It's got lovely, a heat pad, like a rice and lavender heat pad, and aromatherapy oil, and an intimate wash bar, and chocolate, of course, and, period products, and all these sorts of things in there. And it, because I believe that if the first event, that first time that a girl starts her periods, if it's in school and if it's a traumatic experience and she doesn't know what's going on and she's not prepared, then it's going to basically ruin her school life and beyond, you know, because those girls are the ones that are more likely to be bullied and have low self-confidence and have, you know, bad relationships and things like that, because they didn't have that confidence, and, you know, because they started their periods in a really rough way. So it's so important. So that's what we were doing with, you know, in regard to schoolgirls during the pandemic, and obviously donating to every food bank, every charity that came to us from across the country.
Wow, that's really amazing to hear. Your passion, just listening to you, I can hear your passion about this project, and it's amazing. Thank you so much for answering my questions. I'm now going to pass you over to my team members, Zainab, Avni, and Talia, and they each have some of their own questions they prepared.
Oh, good. Okay.
So yeah, over to you guys.
Hi, Zareen. I'm Avni. Ever since, like, when we started this project, we quickly realized that as well as combating the issue, we also have to challenge the taboo that surrounds periods. Where do you think the taboo about periods comes from?
Oh gosh, that's a big question, Avni. It's a really big question, because it's always been there. I think it just comes from patriarchal, historical cultures, you know, where that are male dominated, and so everything has to fit around around a man's existence. Do you know what I mean? Everything has to. So it's like women in the workplace. So we're doing a project at the moment called Reproductive Rights in the Workplace. And because I realized that, well, every institution, whether it's school, you know, or a work office, or the army, or any institution, is built around the needs of men originally. And it's always stayed like that, because schools were first only for boys. So the system and the way schools are set up is made for boys, and then girls just kind of fitted in to that. And the same with workplaces. Women didn't used to work, right? And so it was built around men's needs, you know, timings and everything, and structures and hierarchies. It was all built for men. And then women started working, and they've never changed. It's always been the same. So it's time to kind of rethink that now. You know, what if we could imagine a workplace or a school that fitted around the way that girls' bodies work, women's bodies work, rather than how men's bodies work? And I think it's time to really have these open questions and really debate this and say, well, you know, rather than take the mick every time, you know, a woman says that, you know, she's got period cramps, or, you know, well, she wouldn't, because she's not allowed to, you know. But if they find out that she's on her period, you know, often in a workplace, she's mocked, and she's seen as being weak because of it. Oh, don't bother her. She's got the curse, you know, or she's on a time of the month. Oh, don't worry about her. It's just a time of the month. All those sorts of comments. And we need to turn the tables a bit, and we need to get men and people that don't menstruate, and bosses in particular. And this includes women bosses who are a little bit, you know, that whole Thatcherite thing about, you know, in order to be in a powerful position, you have to be like a man, right? You have to behave like a man. I was brought up in that culture in the workplace, but we have to challenge that now, you know, and actually say, well, okay, you know, but I'm not going to stop being a woman or pretend that I'm not a woman, you know, who has periods, who, you know, may get pregnant, who, you know, may have other issues, menopausal, you know, anything to do with the reproductive system, you know. And then there's endometriosis. Is it one in 5 women or 1 in 7 women that have endometriosis in this country now, which is crippling pain. It really is. I know lots of women with endometriosis, and it's so painful, right? So they have really heavy periods, you know, and then there's, you know, polycystic ovaries, or the, you know, fibroids, uterine fibroids. There's migraines and all kinds of conditions that women suffer from, and you know, it's about time that that people understood and empathized with us as women and worked around us. It doesn't mean that we're weaker or that we can't do the job. It just means that we need a bit of flexibility at certain times of the month. That's all. You know, we're not any less clever because of it, you know. So we need to kind of make a stand. It's time that, you know, things are changed now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm going to pass you over to my colleague.
Hi, I'm Talia, nice to meet you. I'm also a big fan of you and your work. On your website, you mentioned that your goal is to try and eliminate period poverty in Britain's most deprived communities by 2025. How are you trying to do this, and how can we, Team Venus Plus, and everyone watching at home contribute to?
So literally by doing this, Talia, it's, you know, we need to be more vocal. We need support. We need more volunteers out there in communities, trying to normalize the conversation around it. And I love the fact that you've set up this petition, and we need to do more of that, and we need to get behind this petition, and I'd love to partner with you on that and help you with that and put it throughout our networks and everything. So yeah, we're behind you on that. So it's literally going to happen by people like yourselves and us working together, and really putting pressure on the government now to, you know, I think it will happen before 2025, because I think they'll be shamed into doing it, you know, because Scotland has done it, and, you know, why shouldn't we? There's no excuse. There is no excuse.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I hope so too. I'm passing you on to my other colleague.
Hiya, I'm Zainab. I'm
Zainab
of Team Venus Plus. So I had a question on interfaith. As a Muslim young feminist woman, I want to ask you, how did you break the stigma in the Muslim community, as well as
just add that there's a similar idea in Judaism. In the Torah, it says that a woman who's on her period, she's seen as impure. So same question, how did you break the stigma around it?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a PhD in multiculturalism, and I've specialised in my PhD in women's rights, and it was under the schools of theology, so Islamic theology, and policy and sociology, kind of blended together. And so I looked really deeply into this, and the thing is, there's nowhere where it says that it's unclean in our book. There's nowhere where it says that, you know, women are dirty when they're at that time of the month. When we're told not to pray when we're on our period, it's for our sake. It's because we need to take more rest. We need to retreat a bit. You know, it's not because we're dirty, right? And when, I mean, in terms of breaking the taboo in my community, like I said, it's just about being brave, I guess, because I was brought up in that culture as well. You know, I've got 3 sisters, and when we all needed pads in the house and we'd run out, one of us would say really loudly to the other one, "Oh, have you got any pads? We've run out," you know, kind of so that our dad could hear us, so that when he went shopping, he would just discreetly get them and put them in the cupboard for us. And the next time we looked, hey presto, they were there, right? So we used to, you know, we'd have those sorts of strategies. We'd never talked about it to our parents. I mean, I did to my mum, obviously, but she was like, you know, kind of handing me pads under the table in a brown paper bag or something. You know, it was that secretive, and there's no way we would mention it in front of our brothers. So, you know, but now, it was, you know, I think the way that I did it was, you know, when the first container of stock arrived for Gift Wellness, before I sold a single pack, I wanted to make that donation. You know, I remembered that magazine article that I'd looked at in the airport about women in the Za'atari Syrian refugee camp, and I heard that a local charity was taking a container of aid to that same refugee camp. And I thought, right, well, they have to take some pads, and then that fulfills that initial sort of ambition that I had for what I was going to do. And then I'll start selling, and then I'll start my business properly. So I rang up the guy who was from the charity, and it was a charity called Muslims in Need, who were taking this container to Syria. And I rang him up and I said, you know, can you come and pick up some? I've just started this business. My stock has just arrived of pads. Can you come and pick some up to take for the women in the refugee camps? And do you know what he said? he said, "Oh, sister, sorry, but actually, you know, the container's nearly full now with like really important stuff like food and, you know, clothes and medicines and things. You know, maybe we'll take some of your stuff next time." That's what he said. Well, so I asked him where he was. You know, he was local, and you know, I said, you know, can I come and see what you're doing and have a look at your container? He says, yeah, of course. You know, we need all the help we can get, and you know, bring a few, you know, packs if you want of yours, and we'll put them in. You know, like bring a handful, right? And so I took some down to put some boxes in my car, and I took them down, and then I sat him down and I asked him that question, you know, that I said earlier. And I said, you know, can you imagine if your mum or your sister or your daughter were one of those women in the refugee camp, and you know, no matter what's going to happen, what happens, they are going to get their period. And well, at first, like when I said period, it was like, uh-oh, did she just say the P word? You know, and he was like looking around like, who heard that, right? And I said, look, you know, the penny did drop with him, and I said, you know, they are someone's mother as well. They are someone's daughter and someone's sister. And he, you know what? He started to cry. And he said, we've taken so many containers and I've never taken them before. And it's so important. And, you know, from now on, you know, I'll take them every time I go. And he does since then, every container that went. And so after that, I then asked, I needed help because he then sent a truck to the warehouse to fill up, and we needed to label them in Arabic and stuff like that so that the women there could understand what they were, because you can't tell from our products because they look nice and they don't look like pads, you know, because it's a gift. And I wanted them so that you don't have to hide them away. You can display them alongside your other nice toiletries. And because why shouldn't you, right? And so I needed help. So I asked my family, members of my family, I said, look, you know, I need some help for this charity consignment that we need to label up to send to Syria. And you know how people in our community, they love doing charity. So you know, a load of them in our family, we're all on like family groups, WhatsApp groups, like most families, and they all started texting each other and that sort of thing. In fact, I don't know if it was WhatsApp at the time, but anyway, it was you know, they all started texting each other. You're coming to the warehouse to, you know, she says she's going to get pizzas and stuff as well. So you know, so we made it like a party kind of. We put fairy lights on everywhere, and it was the middle of winter, and it was quite sort of, we made it quite sort of Christmassy looking, right? And music playing, pizza coming, and everyone sort of working away, labeling these products to send off to Syria. And it really brought everyone together. And like I said, we had young, old, you know, in the warehouse, side by side, men and women, packing sanitary pads. So no one can tell me that it can't happen in our community. If it can happen in my family that is quite religious, it can happen in any family, any community.
Thank you. I am passing on to my other colleague.
In your TED talk, you talked about like reactive and active charity work. Obviously, like when you see something in the news, like I knew, like when you hear about things going on in Afghanistan, it's easy to click on a link and donate. But how do you think like we can do more active charity work, and what inspires you to do active charity work every day?
I mean, my ultimate inspiration is, you know, doing the work that me and Halima are going to do together. So I've got that driver.
Yeah.
I've got that driver, and see what I mean? That was my father-in-law. He's 94, and he was just going to come in, and he's playing a video like really loud because he's kind of deaf a little bit. So what was I saying about active charity work, wasn't it? Yeah. So, you know, it was the work that me and Halima were going to do. But I think the way that you are doing this now, this is active charity work.
Yeah.
It's just about taking responsibility for what's going on around us and not closing our eyes to it and pretending that we're ignorant about it. You know, and it's so amazing to see your generation of young people who are so switched on, right? And really know their stuff and are telling it like it is, whether it's about the environment or women's issues or whatever. You know, it's like I said, nowadays, it's like I said in my TED talk, you know, everything's on the table today, isn't it? You can talk about every single thing, every kind of gender issue and, you know, sexual things, and everything's out in the open. So why on earth isn't this? Like, you know, this is the most natural thing. You know, the blood that comes out of our bodies when we menstruate, if it didn't come out, it would be because we're pregnant, and that blood, that rich nutritional substance feeds the baby in our wombs. So how can it be dirty, right? How can it be unclean if it's good enough to feed our child that we're nurturing in our bellies? My God, you know, that is, and these are the sorts of things that we need to talk about, right? Is that how can that be dirty when, you know, that's actually what made you, you know, when you were in your mother's stomach, in your mother's womb. And, you know, it's things like terminology. It's like I called it sanitary pads as well. I've always called it sanitary pads. I'm now trying to keep saying menstrual pads and period products, because sanitary, when you say sanitary pads, you need something sanitary to address something that's not sanitary, that's dirty. So I don't think we should say sanitary pads anymore. I don't think we should say sanitary, because that indicates that it's to clean something up that's not clean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that sort of thing. So we need to think about our terminology, and we need just need to think logically and factually about these things and say, actually, that's a load of rubbish, isn't it? Because in actual fact, this is the case. Periods aren't dirty, and without them, none of us would be here, right?
Zain, I wanted to ask you one more question about feminism in general.
Okay.
Hi again.
Hi.
So I was wondering if, in your opinion, is basically, I was just wondering if you think there'll be a time where feminism is no longer needed. Maybe we, both sexes are equal at some point.
I would really love to think so. But I can't see it happening for another 100 years. It was 100 years ago that women got the vote, and look at all the problems that we're still facing. And I think 100 years on, we will be that much further again, maybe a bit further, at the rate that we're going now, unless we start really opening up now, and the thing is, I guess living in the West, right? And I was born and bred here as well. And living here, one advantage that we've got is that people who aren't in the West often follow the trends that start in the West. It's like if you go to Dubai or Qatar or places like that, they make policies and work practices that emulate what's going on in the West, in Europe, US, and the UK, and so on, because they want to attract those sorts of workers. So when we're doing our reproductive rights in the workplace stuff at the moment, we're going to be targeting those sorts of organizations as well, and saying, look, in the West, this is what we're doing, right? We're creating policies so that workplaces are female friendly, so that they have flexible working patterns, and and they're not ridiculed and belittled because of their natural bodily functions. So that's what you need to do, and these are the sorts of approaches that unfortunately, that's the way we're going to have to do it. I think is a bit of kind of peer pressure from the West to other parts of the world. So yeah, it's an interesting question.
Thank you for answering all your questions. It was really inspiring speaking to you. We're going to pass back to Anisha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Zareen. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. Those are some really, really good questions and good answers as well. What you said about the terminology and maybe like how we should stop using certain words because of the connotations, that made perfect sense and it was really interesting to hear about. I actually just had one or two more questions to ask you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
It's to do with our petition that we set up. You mentioned that you appreciated our efforts and said that you were on board with the idea. Why do you think the government have refused to make menstrual products free for women for so long? What do you think is stopping them right now?
I think it's the same taboos. It's the same stigmas. Why did they tax products for the last 100 years? It's and they've only just now removed the tax, and it's like, aren't we wonderful because we've removed the tax? Your products are no longer luxury items, classed as luxury items. Sorry, but it's just not far enough. And And what we need is this sort of pressure. We need them to wake up and actually realize that, the thing is, if they're more inclusive of women, they need to understand that if they're more inclusive of women, then it's not going to damage them. It's not a threat to them. It can only improve the prospects for the whole country. And there's so much evidence from PricewaterhouseCoopers or these sorts of consultancies that have done reports on the trillions of dollars that could be added to the global GDP if there were 25% more women in management positions. I mean, it should be a no-brainer. But because of the status quo, because of the old school networks and the way that people have been conditioned from childhood, it's just one of those things that it needs a wake-up call. And things do happen. I mean, it's happened for the LGBT community and other communities. The whole Black Lives Matter movement and that sort of thing. It does happen, but it requires pressure, and unfortunately we've still got a long way to go.
Definitely.
So
yeah, thank you. I know you mentioned Scotland previously, and for those of you watching who don't know, Scotland last November became the first country in the world to make menstrual products free for all women. Do you see a future where this is true of the UK or the West or even the world? Do you think it's possible?
I think it is going to happen in the UK in the next couple of years, especially if there are movements like ours and yours, especially if we're working together as well. And the most powerful force is women like you. That's because you're the ones that are going to take charge next, right? So if there is an uprising in your cohort, then things have got to change. They have to. And it might be because people want to score political points or whatever, but so be it, whatever, just do it. That's what we want, so sometimes you have to play their games a little bit and let them score their points. I don't care, get your pat on the back or your OBE or whatever, don't care, just do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you said about it perhaps being true of the UK in the next few years, that would be really amazing and truly incredible that it would be possible. Thank you so much, Dr. Zareen. We've been really inspired by everything we've learned today, and we're so grateful that you've come to help us with our campaign.
You're welcome.
Thank you also to JLGB Virtual and everyone at the JLGB NCS team for allowing young people of different backgrounds to come together and tackle the issues of today. Before we end, I just wanted to tell everyone watching to please support our petition and the rest of our journey. We are at Venus Plus NCS on Instagram, and if you go to our bio, there's a link to sign our petition and donate to our cause. Alternatively, you can go to www.compiled.social/Venus Plus, which has all our links to help support us. We hope you've been inspired by what you've seen today, and we wish you a wonderful evening and a good rest of your summer. Thank you.